All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Exciting to see people start trickling in. Hello. So I am Destin. I'm the Director of Community here at Jane, and it is truly such a pleasure to have you join us here today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us to learn all about today's very exciting topic. So whether you're regular at our webinars or this is your first time joining, we're so glad you're here. This time together is such a highlight for our team, not just to share what we've been working on, which is obviously very exciting for us, but we also get this opportunity to connect with so many incredible members of our community. So today we're going to be exploring something that is redefining how clinics handle documentation. You've probably heard a little bit about it already, and that's AI Scribe. So if you've ever felt like chart taking or charting or note taking is pulling you out of the moment with your patients or is cutting into your personal time, you're in the right place. Oh, hello, Nick. I'm just looking at the chat and I can see Nick in there. Hello. This session is designed to be educational and hopefully a little inspiring. So we'll be walking through how AI Scribe works, hearing real world stories and its impact, and answering your questions so you can decide whether it's the right fit for your practice. Let me move the slides. So now that we've had a chance to say hello, us, well, me, that is, it's your turn. So head over to the chat and share where you're joining from and what role you have in your practice. Make sure you flip your chat to everyone. You can see that on the slides in the screen. So flip that to everyone and say hello to everyone that's joined us here today. It's always amazing to see the variety of disciplines and perspectives in our community, and it's such a helpful thing. Oh, I can already see it lighting up. This is my favorite part of the webinars for sure. It's so exciting. Hello, everybody. And so a few quick notes to set the stage for today's session. We're here to help. Our team is going to be super active in the chat. So if you run into any questions or tech hiccups, feel free to reach out. Oh, that chat is scrolling by. This is so exciting. We also save time at the end of the webinar to answer as many of your questions as we can. So pop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. That's the best place to ask your questions. Obviously use the chat as well. You can see it is lighting up. It's a great place. Our team will be in there. But if you have a really specific question, please pop that into the Q&A. That's the easiest way for us to make sure nothing gets missed. And then obviously the session will be recorded. So don't worry about missing anything. We'll email you the replay after we wrap up so you can revisit it later and share it with anyone in your practice or any of your colleagues that you think might be interested as well. So we are so glad you're here and we can't wait to kick things off. So before we get started on the content, I'd like to introduce the two folks joining us today who've been central to AI Scribe's journey. First, you'll be hearing from Oliver, our staff product designer at Jane. He's been instrumental in developing AI Scribe, bringing together user experience and AI to make sure the tool truly supports your clinic's workflow. Oliver is here to share the story behind AI Scribe and walk us through a demo and answer your questions along the way. And we're also joined by Sean Overin, Director of Learning at Tall Tree Health and co-founder of AMP Healthcare Education. Sean's a registered physiotherapist, sorry, I'm reading my notes, and despite Collins calling himself tech-averse, quickly became an enthusiastic advocate for AI Scribe after seeing its impact in his own clinic. So welcome, Oliver and Sean. It is so great to have you here.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Destin. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So before we jump into the content again, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time getting to know the two people that are going to be chatting with us today. So Oliver, you being close to this work from the very beginning, what's something about AI Scribe that you are especially proud of?
Well, I mean, just getting this thing out to everyone, period. It's been quite a journey to like hone this thing down into something useful. And obviously folks like Sean and our closed beta group have just been like, I'm so proud of the relationships we've built through this process. But really the way that that has kind of evolved into, when we talk to customers, the biggest question that we ask about AI Scribe as it's been evolving is like, how much time do you think that this is saving you? We have a lot of data to show that this is saving upwards of like 75% of your charting time in some cases. But this was really exemplified by like this one moment that I chatted with someone and was like, how much time do you feel like you're saving? And this practitioner said, I've taken up gardening again. And that just hit me right in the feels. And as a designer, that I feel like I peaked a little bit at that moment. So yeah. Proud.
Oh, I love that so much. That's so nice. And I mean, I think that's obviously one of the intentions of AI Scribe and everything we do at Jane. We want to be able to give our community some time back in their day to do the things that they love doing and have those experiences. So, oh, that's so delightful. So Sean, for folks joining us who might be brand new to all of this, what would you say to someone who's feeling a little hesitant or maybe like you is maybe a bit tech averse from when you were before to where you are now?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's so true because for most of my life, I would just plug in something technology related. Could be a TV, could be Nintendo, could be a computer, and I would just hope it would work. And if it wouldn't work, I'd probably want to bury my head in the sand. But when I quickly found how amazing the Scribe could be so early on, and how much time it could save me, and then energy I could inject back in the clinic. And it made me so curious and interested in how I could continue to remove the edge or take more than an edge from the administrative load of being a clinician. So that that moment when I could see how much time I could potentially get back and then experiencing that made me lean into tech. And I got super interested in that and having and working with the Jane team. Oliver touched on like what great relationships were formed, and I completely agree here. It was so fun to work with a team that was so agile and open to feedback and including everyone in the process. So that's where I would start. Is I went tech averse to I'm an enthusiast. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. I feel like we're at a really exciting time where tech is able to provide such benefits to our practitioners using Jane. And obviously Jane in and of itself is a piece of tech, but being able to layer on some really thoughtful AI pieces like AI Scribe has really had such a positive impact. We could continue this chat for a long time because there's so many more questions I could ask, but I know everyone is wanting to know more about AI Scribe in and of itself. So let's keep moving on. And I believe the next part, I'm just going to quickly chat about what we're going to cover today, and then we are going to get into the good stuff. So we'll start by talking about how Jane thinks about AI in general, our values, our responsibilities, and how we built AI Scribe with security, consent, and adaptability at the core. Then Oliver will walk us through what AI Scribe does and a demo of how it works, so you can see how it can fit into your daily routine. Maybe help you take up gardening or get back into a hobby that you have had to put on the back burner. After that, Sean will share how his clinic has adopted AI Scribe, including lessons learned from the impact it's had on their day-to-day work. And we'll wrap up with a short recap, share how you can try it out for yourself, and open the floor to your questions. So just a quick heads up, this isn't a deep dive into how AI works behind the scenes. We're going to focus on how AI Scribe fits into a real clinic life, how it works, what it looks like in action, and how to complete your notes quicker. We'll walk through how Jane's been thinking about AI and what we've built. And so with that, I'm going to pass it off to Oliver.
Right on. Okay. Hey, folks. Hello, I'm Oliver, the designer on the AI Scribe team. And before we get into it, I would love to get a little bit more audience participation going. I would love for you to head on into the chat and drop in an emoji that best describes how you're feeling about integrating AI into your clinic. Are you excited? Are you curious? Maybe a little nervous? What emoji represents that? Maybe you're fully on board with and just looking for some tips today. No matter where you're at, you're in good company. This is a safe space here, and we are all learning together. So let's get some responses in there. Yep, see that chat blowing up. Ooh, this is the first time I've been able to do this, so this is great. Keep it coming, folks. Let's get some responses in there, and then I will get started. Okay, so as those roll in, I see 99 plus at least here. Let's kick things off with how we are actually approaching this whole AI thing at Jane in general. So when it comes to building AI features, our goal is to keep your trust at the core of everything we do and build tools that truly save you time. Today, we're going to start by exploring the principles that guide our team: agency, control, visibility, education and empowerment, and then AI ethics and patient care. These are the key values that help us stay committed to creating tools that truly support you and your work. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Our first principle is all about you maintaining agency over your clinic's data. At Jane, we believe you should be in control of your experience, and that's why we're committed to all AI-powered features being opt-in experiences. allowing account owners to decide if and how AI will be used in their organization. As for your data, it's all yours. We will never share it with other clinics or use it to train internal or external AI models. And in addition, we will always include ways for you to control how your data is stored, so you can stay aligned with your regulatory requirements and jurisdictional data privacy laws. We've also taken a firm stance that AI features at Jane will only ever amplify you as the practitioner, never actually stepping into that role itself. So these features will only ever assist, presenting suggestions that can be modified, accepted, or rejected. And in order to keep you in control, we need to stay on the same page. So the next principle focuses on ensuring that we are building out in the open, like this, and keeping you in the loop as technologies evolve. We know AI can be a black box, so we're committed to taking our implementation and making it as transparent as possible. So we'll call out where AI is being used in Jane, making it clear when processes are running in the background or where they may require a decision from you. We'll also ensure that Jane's AI features meet all HIPAA and PIPEDA requirements, so you can trust that your clinic's data is being held to the highest standards of security. And to bring you along with us, we are creating and maintaining practical learning resources that will keep you up to speed and set you up for success for a wide variety of learning styles. And finally, we're committed to continually exploring how to ethically use AI. At a baseline, this means that we're ensuring that we do not build AI features just for AI's sake to be on the hype train, but focusing on creating features that are truly valuable and trustworthy, ones that save you time and allow you to create even better outcomes for your clients. As AI and healthcare best practices evolve, we'll keep listening and adapting, working alongside you to ensure that Jane stays up to date with the latest compliance policies. All right, so building with you. Next up, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and do a quick shout out to the team implementing these principles. I am so lucky to get to work with this amazing group of people and Jane broadly and its customers. It's not just because we get to build cutting edge things together, but it's because we're all driven by the same passion for solving real impactful problems. And I also want to double click on saying that we wouldn't have gotten AI Scribe this far without the incredible contributions from our early adopters who've allowed us to test early, get real feedback, and refine this tool into something that truly works. So now that you've met the team and learned about our principles, let's talk about why we built AI Scribe itself. For many of you, note-taking and charting is a huge disruption to the flow of an appointment, and it's one of the most time-consuming and tedious tasks you do. We built AI Scribe to get you that time back. And we built it in-house to supercharge the way you do your work in Jane, not having to leave Jane for another tool. Whether you prefer recording dialogue during a session or dictating your thoughts afterwards, AI Scribe is able to listen and generate insights from a format that suits you best. If you want to get started quickly, we have a smart soap note that you can add to any chart entry. And we also have a full library of templates that you can add to your portfolio and customize to match your individual needs. And because we know everyone has their own unique way of communicating, you can adjust your tone, structure, and content with plain language prompting, easily experimenting in our prompt playground until you find what works for you. So with that's enough explanation. Let's actually see this thing in action. And classic cooking show move. Good thing I prepared this beforehand. I've got a walkthrough here for you so you can get to know the basics of AI Scribe. In this demo, we'll see a session using the default soap note I mentioned, just to show you how straightforward the process is. And from there, we'll walk you through how recording becomes a chart entry, how you can review, edit, and save your notes, and then I'll show you how to take it a bit further by creating your own custom templates. So let's see if this works here. All right, everyone, let's get started with AI Scribe. So what you're going to want to do is navigate to a charting view of a patient and head on over to the new chart entry area and scroll on down to the smart soap note. Once you click on that, you will get a new chart entry that comes preloaded with a note that is powered by AI Scribe with a soap note prompt in the background preloaded for you. This is the easiest way to get started with AI Scribe, and it should handle quite a few use cases just to get used to it. So once you have an AI Scribe note in any chart entry, you'll gain access to the recording button up in the top right-hand corner of any chart entry. When you click on that, you get a popover that asks you to create a new summary, and we can do that in a couple of different ways. We can either record audio directly onto the computer, or we can upload a file from your computer or any other device. We also can manage recordings, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So clicking on record audio, we will allow access to our microphone, and then we will start to connect to any available microphone that you have. Once it's connected, you can see that there is a little visualizer here that lets you confirm that audio is streaming properly and being detected by Jane. We can select from any available microphone or recording devices, either connected via Bluetooth or on the device itself. And then when we are ready, we can hit start recording. That will do a little dance and get started. And we can see that this is starting to record. We can see the file length that is ticking up in real time there. And then we have a couple of controls here as well. So we can pause, and this will stop all the recording, but it won't finish the recording, so you can pause and resume at your leisure. And then you can also finish and cancel the recording. And if you close this out or you move off the screen, this will have a little indicator to show you that this is the chart entry that is still recording, or if anything goes wrong, you'll be notified in there as well. So you'll also notice that in the top of the screen, you have this gray bar here, and this is the global control banner, which basically duplicates the controls in the popover, but we included this for the reason of you might want to navigate to a different area. And what's nice about this is this follows you along. So you might still be recording and you can still pause and resume wherever you are. And let's say that you are too deep within the settings page. You can easily finish if you're done, or you can click on the name of the patient and that will bring you directly back into the patient where you are recording. So let's finish this off. Obviously, I didn't just conduct a session, I walked you through this product and recorded me speaking over top of it. So let's actually go in and see what a real session would produce here. So we have a mock Cairo session here that we're going to upload. We can see it processing in the top right-hand corner. And now that it's done, we can just X out of that. And we can see that we have our SOAP note summarized for us right here. So the subjective portion, the objective assessment, and it's pulled out anything that we chatted about with the patient about upcoming next steps. So at this point we have uploaded something, we have my recording of me just speaking about this product in the background. So what if you want to manage some of those files that you've recorded? You hop up here to the recording button and hop into manage recordings. And here we can see a couple of files that have been uploaded that are associated just with this chart entry. They're filtered just to this one. And we can replay the audio files.
Perfect. Go ahead, take a little step.
And we can hear that mock file happening in the background. We can view the transcript. And we also have a couple of options here as well, where we can copy the transcript or download all the files or delete everything from here as well. Just like that. So let's say the SOAP note isn't, quite cutting it for all of your use cases. That's totally fine because AI Scribe's prompts are totally customizable to your use cases. So if you want to make this work for you, head on over to the staff area and head into your templates, and let's create a new template. You can start from scratch with just a regular plain note, or you can start with our Smart SOAP note as well and customize it from there. But let's just show you what you can do from scratch. So you have a plain note. Any plain note that you add to a template comes as standard, but you can also turn that into an AI Scribe note just by clicking on this tab here. So in the configure portion, you are given a completely blank prompting space, and you can get started in a couple of ways. You can either head into our sample prompts library in our Jane guide, so you can just search sample prompts and we'll get you there. You can scroll on down and come to a couple of these, and maybe we'll start with our acupuncture prompt. we'll grab that. You can just paste it in there, so you can see that that's all in there. We have a 10,000 character limit, so feel free to be as brief or as verbose as you'd like. Or what you can do is you can come into the prompt snippets area and you can add either full notes directly from here. So we have DAP that you could throw in or something like that. We also have a couple of topics, aggravating factors, assessment, and also just some preferences as well that you can give you examples of like what are the kinds of things that you can write in here in plain English. So refer to the patient exclusively as client, or we could have refer to them exclusively by their first names. So these are just examples of the kinds of things that you can throw in here and experiment with. And on the topic of experimentation, once you have written in what you feel to be an accurate prompt of what you want to have generated, you can come down here to preview your note. And in preview your note, we have a couple of demo transcripts, one from a physiotherapy session and one from a mental health session. These are mocks, of course. You can click on one of those, and then you can click Generate Summary. And once that's done generating, we can see that we have a summary preview that creates an output based on our prompt that we created. So let's save that out, say we're good with that. And a cool thing about AI Scribe is it can be configured however you like within a note. It can have, a note can have multiple AI Scribe notes that will summarize from a single transcript, and they can be mixed and matched with traditional chart elements as well. So hopefully that gives you a sense of how you can get started with AI Scribe, and yeah, can't wait to see what you all come up with. All right, okay, brief overview. All right, okay, let's make sure that doesn't start again. All right, it's my turn. Back to real life Oliver. So hopefully you can see how you can get started with AI Scribe easily and how easy it is to make it your own. There's a lot of other features we can dive deeper into, but for now, we're going to bring out Sean. But before we do, you'll be seeing a quick poll pop up in front of you, and we'd love to hear about where you're at in your AI journey. Are you brand new? Have you started testing the waters? Or have you incorporated it into your daily workflow already? Let us know in the poll. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to invite Sean up here, and just as a quick reminder, if you have any questions coming up during our chat, please pop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and add your questions there. We'll answer those at the end of the session. All right, welcome aboard, Sean. How you doing?
Hey, Oliver, this is fun. It's good. It's good to see you again, and it's fun to reflect on this coming full circle from a few formal, semi-formal cappuccinos in a coffee shop to where we are here now on the webinar.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, yeah, it's a meeting in person to meeting in front of thousands of people. This is good stuff. Well, let's just dive into it, shall we? I'd love to just ask you a couple of questions and get some of your experience and share it with this community of folks. So let's start at the beginning. What was your first experience like using AI Scribe, and how did you get started?
Yeah, well, I'm a clinician, and anytime I think about how can I reduce the burden of charting or the administrative work, the thing that I think most clinicians don't love about their work, I met it with like a ton of excitement and also curiosity. I had to learn more, but at the same time, I was a little bit skeptical. I was unsure if, how safe AI might be, or also just that it would actually reduce the admin burden and I could go home on time. But I built a test patient in Jane, and I started testing it on my own. So I played the clinician, but also the patient. So I was speaking in my clinician voice like I am here, but then I was also talking in my patient voice and went on for about 20 minutes and went through a subjective and objective, did a treatment plan. And I was just blown away by how much it captured in the conversation, but also maintaining the context and removing all the stuff that wasn't that important. And so just after that, I could see the immediate utility and how it could help me as well in my practice. So I started with some low stakes sessions. These are some of my clients that I had a lot of rapport with that I've been seeing for a while. And in those sessions, I just wanted to see how it felt throughout a typical physiotherapy session. And again, I was just completely surprised and blown away by how it picked up on important bits of the conversation, really specific and important things, but also the context. and left out all the stuff that needs to be left out. And this was just using the basic smart soap template early on. And I was thinking, again, this is just so early. If it's this good now, how good could it be, a year or two or three from now? But and then I just started using it regularly, and I found that my patients were commenting like, "Hey, this is pretty cool," and like your clinic's really forward thinking. I was kind of laughing in my mind, but having these experiences on my own, but also with some of my initial patients that I had a good rapport with, and then having patients make comments, really positive comments, it gave me a ton of confidence just to bring it into my regular workflow. And so I did.
Mhm. Nice. It seems like we all need early adopters, both on the tech front and then in the actual using it front. So that's cool. We all need partnerships. That's it. So
Absolutely.
speaking of other for folks adopting this now, who are looking for some ways to get started, could you put together a bit of like a three-step, four-step approach that someone can easily use to get started with AI Scribe in their clinic?
Totally. Yeah. The first thing just to think about is behavior change is always hard. And as a busy clinician, we want to make sure these steps are super small. Some people can adapt to big changes right off the hop. Many of us need to go really small. And so I'm one of those people. So I think the first thing to think about is consent. The second thing is use a template that's already been built for you in Jane. You're going to record and then review. So when I say consent, we want to add a consent blurb into the intake form. So it's baked into that process and becomes a system. And then you're no longer thinking about it. And good written consent, it depends from discipline to discipline, but in general, you want to tell the patient what it is they're consenting to. So in our clinic, we say, clinicians may use a secure AI note-taking assistant to document sessions, and it transcribes your visit in real time so your provider can stay more focused on you. So that's the what is it. And then we want to make sure we include something about privacy and security when we're talking about data. And we want to mention something like it's stored securely in Jane. It's never used to train AI systems. And the audio recording is deleted after transcription. The third thing is we want to make sure, especially with AI, that we mention something that the clinician is going to review uh, the transcription and the summary. So we want to mention like your clinician always reviews and edits the note before it's added to your medical record. And then finally, this is something we like to do at Tall Tree, but we want to engage people in shared decision making and let them know that AI Scribe is completely optional and that if they choose not to use it, it won't affect their care. And just to let us know through that consent process. So we want to have a written consent bit there. But at the same time, we also need a verbal consent because what we know about written consent is many people don't read the fine print, and that's totally okay and expected. So we want to have a script to tell patients. So that covers consent. The other thing is just add a simple smart soap template to get you started. If you want to go into the library, if you're a musculoskeletal provider, like a physio, a chiro, a massage therapist, there's a smart MSK assessment. If you're a mental health provider, the DAP or the BURP is a great way to begin as well. So you've got consent, you've got a template, and then you're just going to record. You're going to get that verbal consent, and then you're going to hit record and run your session as you normally do. And that transcription and summary, you want to make sure that you treat that as a first rough draft. It's never going to give you a perfect chart note. And so I would typically spend about 1 to 2 minutes editing for clarity, tone, and all the clinical nuance before I sign off on that. So that would be my three-step process: consent, template, use a template that's already built, record and review.
Right on. Yeah, repeat that one more time for the folks. One, two, three.
Yeah, you want it one more time?
Yeah, one more time.
Consent, so that includes both written and verbal.
Yeah,
Use a template, record, and review.
nice. I'd love to focus in on the consent piece and just that relationship with the client in the moment. Then, what do you say to a client when you're about to use AI Scribe in a session?
Hmm. I'm assuming they may have read the intake form just in part, but I want to, so maybe I'll keep it quite simple and use a one-liner. I'll say something like, I'm using an AI-powered note-taking assistant that's going to transcribe and summarize our session today. And this really enables me to focus on our conversation even more.
Hmm.
I'll review and edit the chart before saving it to your file. Would it be okay if we use this today? And I'd say 9 out of 10 people say absolutely. Right? Um, but they do, there's a few that ask follow-up questions, which is great. And I think people should ask lots of questions and we should have some of those basic answers. But one of the common ones is, where is the data stored? And we know with confidence that it's stored in Jane's encrypted infrastructure. Nothing is downloaded and saved to your device or stored externally. Another one that's come up is this training an AI model and used for corporate benefit? And the answer is no. Jane is not using a model that processes the recording and then uses it to improve upon itself. And then the other one that I've had less commonly, but they ask about the transcript of the recording. And what's awesome is Jane has this auto delete policy that you can set your preferences to. I think it's 1 to 30 days in which you can hold on to that, where then it's automatically deleted. I just have it on one day. I've never gone back and had to look at the transcript or listen to the recording. But you want to mention this so nothing that doesn't belong in the chart. And what I mean by that is something that's not clinically relevant to the person's problem, that is not kept in the record. So that's those are the three questions that I might get. But in general, the simple one-liner, I'm using a note-taking assistant and allow us to connect more through conversation. Would it be okay? That is simple and sweet, and people are usually totally fine with it.
Nice. I want to just highlight one thing you mentioned, and this wasn't shown in the walkthrough demo, but there's a lot of great stuff you can read about in the guide, and it's pretty easy to navigate to as well once you get started. But that auto deletion policy is huge, and that's one of the biggest pieces that we worked on together. Just to call out for everyone on the call today, yeah, you can set your preferences about the deletion policy. Our default policy right now is that it's stored indefinitely, but you can go right in and the account owner can switch that to an amount of days or time that you want to delete after a recording, or you can delete it instantly after the recording as well. And it's never even logged whatsoever. So moving on from some of the concerns that customers have had, maybe to what are some of the risks and concerns that you had going in, and how have you managed them?
Yeah, these are common concerns that I think anyone's thinking about AI or reading some of the literature around AI or just looking on social media. There's a few really common ones. So the first one is hallucinations and errors. And what this is, for those who don't know, it's just AI can mishear or fabricate some of the details, but you can overcome this by always reviewing your notes carefully before signing off. This is critical. Right? We have to treat this as a first rough draft, and that's how we can catch those errors. The second one, this often shows up in the literature with some of the AI scribes that you're not able to actually change the prompts, but that's not the case here with Jane's, but note bloat. So you just get too much notes. It can be long and cluttered. But with these Jane Smart templates and your own prompt engineering, you're not going to experience this. So it's less relevant here. One of the concerns is that the AI may leave out, or there might be irrelevant information left in their record. So leaving the raw transcript or audio, we have to make sure we remove that from the note once we've finalized it. And this is based on on our regulatory bodies or your college, and they want us to only keep clinically relevant information in the record. So we need to remove irrelevant info from their record. Another concern is missed clinical details. The AI can only capture what's said out loud. And so during the session, you want to make sure you explicitly state what you're seeing or hearing. Or what I like to do is wait to the end of the session, spend a minute talking to the AI scribe, and then saving the recording and then moving on to my next patient. That's how I get around missed clinical details. But even when I don't do that, I forget to, it's still amazing at what it can capture in the session. And the final thing that we want to be concerned with, some of the risks, is just the consent and privacy gaps, especially early on with AI. Patients, when they come to the clinic, they may not even realize that AI is being used because they didn't read the consent form. And so that's why we want to make sure we double down and we get verbal consent as well. So those are the 5 things that I think most people are worried about. There's others, and these ones often occur again. If you're reading the literature, you'll find them commonly in there as well.
Yeah. So you had these concerns, but you also work at a fairly large clinic yourself, and I can't thank you enough. You've been a huge champion for AI Scribe. So when it comes to championing it to those who work alongside you, What's worked well for getting those other practitioners on board with AI Scribe?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I don't think there's a one size fits all answer because everyone's going to have there's going to be nuances to this. But I think the first thing to note is that Jane is an incredible support team that's always on hand, and so clinicians often want on-demand help and resources, and knowing they can have this right away when they have that problem, and it makes it easier to transition. So I'd say that's the first thing. That's just kind of the backdrop of making this behavior change. But beyond this, as an owner, but also a clinician, setting the stage for successful behavior change is something I always think about. And so I always recognize that even small behavior change is really hard, and especially for busy clinicians. And this will take some time, some more or less than others, and all of them are normal. Right? If it takes a long time for someone to make a small change, that's totally fine. If it doesn't take that long for others, that's totally fine too. So just recognizing that and coming at it from a compassionate lens, I think is really helpful. But secondly, we want to make sure we show people and not just tell them about AI Scribe and its benefits. We want to show them, and then three, we need to have them experience it firsthand. Once we have experience with it, it's hard to go back. So what have we done at Tall Tree? First thing, we've just brought it up frequently and in different contexts: email, Slack, in person. A lot of these different and how we communicate these days, there's lots of different forms, uh, and it's so easy to miss them. So it's good to be communicating frequently about it, and again, across different communication platforms. I think inviting regular prompted feedback is really helpful. Every time that we've done that, we've gotten some wonderful feedback, challenges, barriers to implementing it, but also a lot of successes as well, where it's been really helpful. Both is really good, especially if you are an owner or a clinic director working to help get this into someone's practice. Understanding these challenges and barriers, I think, is really helpful. Um, Again, keeping the steps small and simple. So we talked about that earlier, the consent, templates, record, review. Having all this clearly laid out for everyone in a stepwise way is really helpful. Again, this is the busy clinician. They're seeing a lot of patients, they're handling a lot of things on their mind. Then they know they have to get charting to do, and then they have a personal life beyond that. How can we keep it so simple and easy for them? And one of the things that you might even do is some people, you might actually go in and add the template to their staff profile to make it even that much easier, and go in and add consent into these intake forms, of course, with the consent of these clinicians. Um, and this leads me to like a next point, is that we want to have a system for written consent and these verbal scripts. If we can do all the pre-planning and work before, it just makes it that much easier to implement. And if we can get them involved in the process, it's not always expected, again, because there's a lot of things that they're working on. That can be even more helpful in getting people on board there. And always point to those starter templates. It can be scary, like where do I start? I have no idea where to begin. The starter template is a really good and robust way to get people going and to see the benefit and to have that experience. Um, so those are a few things, but a lot of people will just go, and I think it's good to highlight that you can just set up a test patient, get them to start there, do 1 or 2 rounds on their own, do it with a colleague, and then get them to try it with a patient they know very well, that they have good rapport with. I think these are some small but simple behaviors to help people adopt this in their clinic at a bit more at scale.
Yeah, those are fantastic tips. I mean, when it comes to getting comfortable, obviously, I want to double click on the template side of things. So, what what kind of prompts and templates have been most helpful for you and the practitioners at your clinic?
Hmm. Again, the Smart Soap template is an excellent place to begin. Those prompts have been built with a lot of intention behind it. It recognizes both how different clinicians like to practice and the data they like to capture, but it's also a bit informed by some of the literature around what we know patients want and what they expect and what makes for a satisfying experience. I've worked with a bunch of nerdy physios and put together what's called the Smart MSK assessment and the Smart MSK follow-up template version 1.1. This is in the Jane template library. Again, if you're a pain provider, physio, chiro, massage therapist, acupuncturist, the subjective is tuned to capture symptoms under the SINS model, aggravating and easing factors, work and social history, stress, mental health, sleep, exercise habits, and a heck of a lot more. So that's all there. But also, it generates a section where you can send a doctor's note and a treatment plan to the doctor and to the patient as well. So from that summary or that transcription, it'll summarize everything for a doctor. You can blast that out to them after, and also a treatment plan, which is based on 4 things that patients often want to know about their problem. What is it they think they have? What's the prognosis? What are their goals? Specific advice and instructions, and importantly, what the follow-up schedule is. This template will give you all of that in your initial assessment and follow-up. And you can check out the background and how this AI is tuned. What is the prompt in there? And then you can go in and modify it if you'd like to do that. But I think the prompt is really where the magic lives in AI Scribe. And that's where you can really cut down on the admin work that you have to do.
Yeah. Time for some shameless self-promotion, but also some promotion of Sean. Like, those templates are available in the template library. Go check them out, take them, craft them to your own needs. But also, this is a great time for me to bring up that Jane will actually be running a workshop in October on exactly this. It's called Fine-Tuning Your Prompts and Matching Your Voice and Clinical Goals. And this is going to really dive into how to become a prompting pro like Sean and learn how to get even more time back from charting. So with that bit of shameless plug out of the way, I think I'm bringing Sean. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
the.
thank you. It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think I'm bringing back Destin up here, and I think we're going to open the floor to some Q&A potentially, or yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a little bit of wrap up, and I just wanted to thank you both for going through those questions, and then thank everyone for adding their questions into the chat and Q&A. This is by and far the busiest webinar we have ever had. We are currently at 95 answered Q&A and 76 open Q&A questions. So huge shout out to everyone with all of your incredible questions and the team for jumping in there and asking them. And then obviously there's also a lot of questions in the chat as well. Sean, there was some specific questions for you in there. If you want to take a scroll back through the chat, just some questions around your consent form, how you would talk about consent with your patients, and a few other things. If you want to take a look at that, we can answer those live, or you could respond to people specifically in the chat. There might also be some in the Q&A as well, and I will go through and bring some up. But there's lots of incredible questions, so helpful for our team, so helpful for the community. So really lovely to see all of this. So thank you so much. We're going to do our very best to get to as many as we can. And anything that we don't get to, we'll follow up with after the session. So if you are listening to this and thinking, okay, I think I might like to try that out, you can. AI Scribe is now available in Canada and the US, and it's $15 per month add-on per user. So I saw that question in the chat as well. So I'll cover that one more time. It's $15 per month add-on per user that account owners can opt into directly from Jane. You can head over to our demo site where you can explore AI Scribe. I saw a couple of comments about that in the chat as well. So we can add some information into the follow-up email about how you can access the demo site if you haven't done that before. But you can get there right from your Jane account as well if you click the Need Help modal. Just make sure you're not using real patient data when recording when using the demo clinic. And we've also put together a full support guide with everything you need to get started, setup instructions, how to talk to clients about consent, tips for creating your own templates and prompts. And we'll drop the link in the chat so you can check it out at any time. So we've got that. We've got obviously the webinar recording that'll be coming your way. And I know it was a pretty fast overview. I saw some comments, and we're doing our best to get you as much information as we can in this session. The guides are super helpful. And what I've also seen in the chat, which I think is incredible, is the amount of people needing to chat with one another about what's happening in their own discipline or region. And so we obviously have the community. If you're not a part of that yet, I'll be talking about that in a little bit, how you can chat with each other to share your own tips and tricks. Oh, I think we are, where are we on the slides? Oh, here's what we covered today. There we go. Okay, I thought this was the same slide from the beginning. So before we jump into the Q&A, and I did want to call out that we're at about 42 minutes, and I think we said about 45. So anyone that does need to jump, please do. We will be sending the recording out, but if you want to stick around for a little bit of Q&A, we'd love to have you stay. So I just want to take a quick moment to recap what we've covered today. So we started by exploring Jane's eye approach to AI tools, making sure they're created with intention, transparency, and care. From there, we walked you through how easily AI Scribe integrates into your workflow, helping you stay in control of your notes and your data every step of the way. And of course, we heard from Sean, who shared his experience of bringing AI into a real-world multidisciplinary clinic. It was an insightful look into how these tools can make a meaningful impact in a practice. And I think one of the parts of the session that really generated a lot of questions for people hearing that real world example. So we'll get to some of those questions in a moment. So to wrap things up, I would love to feel about how you're feeling about integrating AI into your clinic after we've shared today. Um, Pop back in the chat, drop an emoji that best reflects how you're feeling. Has anything changed from the beginning of session? Do you need more info? We're always happy to share more. Um, but let us know. Some people are feeling maybe a little overwhelmed. That's fair. Someone's asking how soon can we get it? As soon as you'd like. Um, and so we are here to help. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, we are here to help. Come reach out to our support team and we can always help you out with that. Cautiously excited, which I love to hear. I think that's totally fair, a mix of feelings, and I think that's totally fair with anything new, especially AI. And I think as Sean and Oliver both covered, there's also just such differences in regions and disciplines and associations and what you can and cannot do. So you really need to make sure you're doing all the research and checking all your boxes before you jump in. But we have the opportunity, like I said, to test out in the demo clinic and all of those types of things. All right. So as I mentioned, we've got our support team. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. We have unlimited support and you can reach out at any time. And then I'm just going to minimize this. And then, as I mentioned, we have the Jane community. So we currently have our community group on Facebook, which hopefully someone can drop a link to that in the chat. And then we'll be launching another community platform soon as well that you'll be able to access directly through your Jane account. So we'll still keep the Facebook groups active. We know how many people use them and enjoy them and find them valuable for their workflow. But we've also had some people asking questions about if they could join another community somewhere where they might be able to network more closely with their fellow practitioners. So we'll be launching that hopefully later this month or in September. So stay tuned for that. And now let's move on to some Q&A. So we've got a lot of questions. And so let's see which ones we want to answer. I think what I saw repeated a few times all over, so maybe it would be an easy one to jump into, is recording in a community clinic or a busy clinic or somewhere where there's like lots of noise happening. How can people do that? Do we recommend mics? What is the best approach for something like that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways that we can hack around that. I mean, AI Scribe is also it's very good at discerning between noise. Like it's actually quite good at, as Sean was saying, it's pulling out even if there's, babble in the background. Like it's really great at taking the semantic meaning out of your conversation, either your dictation or your conversation with your client, and getting the juice of the conversation out into its summaries. But yeah, absolutely. If you want to either use potentially even your phone, which has a more direct microphone, and if you're like walking in between rooms, we've had people have success just taking a recording on their phone and then uploading it afterwards, doing a little dictation afterwards as well. Any kind of Bluetooth microphone, you see all those YouTubers with those little DJI mics or something like that. Pop it on your lapel or something a lot cheaper potentially as well. Even just like conferencing microphones that you can plug into your computer. If it's super loud and you're like side by side with people, yeah, getting something a bit more directional is definitely a good plan. But there's a lot of options you can take on that one to help kind of direct the audio a bit better.
Perfect. And sort of in that same, I think there was a couple questions around the recording. So another question someone had was around, I think this is sort of the same one, working in a mobile clinic. So I think that's the same sort of thing. Like they're sort of on the go, they're in a mobile clinic. So I think those recommendations work the same. And then the other one, oh, gonna come back to it. Oh no, it was for online appointments or telehealth appointments. How does this currently work?
Yeah, well, this is a fun one as we can't officially say that we support virtual appointments with this yet. This is a very in-person kind of tool so far. But that said, especially with early adopters and stuff, we've had people hacking this where they are recording you can just record your speaker output basically from your virtual appointments. And AI Scribe will do its best to parse through that information and get you the results you want. What I will say is we are actively working on a telehealth version of this. that can support your virtual experiences as a first-party solution. So stay tuned for that.
Amazing. All right, there's a lot of questions, which is so, so great. I'm trying to see what else might be helpful. So I think we talked a little bit about it, but let's go back to consent because I think that was one that was asked quite a bit. People were asking maybe to see Sean's consent form, and then I saw some people in the chat saying like obviously every association and every discipline might be a little bit different in terms of consent. So how do we talk about that with our clients and what do we say to them when using AI Scribe?
Mhm. Sean, do you want to take that one again, maybe? You're on the front
Yeah.
line with this one for sure.
Yeah, I'm really happy to share exactly what we have in our intake forms and then also what I like to say to patients. But you don't need like a special or new intake form. You can just use the one you have, add a new section that might be tech related, and you want to answer those things that we were talking about a bit earlier. You want to answer what is it they're consenting to, so the AI Scribe note-taking device, and how it benefits them as the patient, and it allows you as a clinician to really focus on the conversation that much more. You want to also touch on privacy and security. Where is the data stored and is it being used for corporate benefit? And we know that's not the case here. We want to, I think, engage in shared decision making. Of course, let them know that this is completely optional. If they choose not to use it, that's totally fine and it won't affect their care. Uh, and then I think the fourth one that's quite unique to AI is we want to make sure that there's clinician oversight in reviewing uh, the summary. That's the other piece. So I would include those four pieces in your intake form section. This doesn't need to be super robust. We want to make sure we balance all of what we've discussed there with understanding the patient experience and what makes for a satisfying experience for patients. But again, I'm happy to share what I tell patients verbally, and then of course what we have in our intake forms at Talltree.
Yeah,
That's helpful.
just to
Oh,
add
go
to
ahead.
that, this is something that's, top of mind for us, especially on the product side, which is how can we potentially give you the tools in app to add those consent forms, add those abilities to continuously gather verbal consent. So yeah, we're working with Sean on this one to find where those best places are to input that.
And then a little bit of follow-up that to Sean. I saw it in the chat and I thought it was a really interesting question. How do you explain to patients the value of AI Scribe? So if you say to them, I want to use AI Scribe in this appointment, do you consent? And if they turn around and ask you, like, what's the benefit for me? Why would I want you to use that for my appointment? Have you had that question, or what would you say if I came?
Hmm. Well, yeah, I'm really actually happy to answer this one. And this comes from a real, authentic, genuine place because I've experienced it firsthand and so have others. But it certainly allows you to just put your computer right to the side. And there's some research showing that even if you have a phone in the room, it changes the experience and the relationship that you form with others. And so if part of what we're doing in the clinic is building a therapeutic alliance with people, and that's like the foundation for which any care can really happen, uh, AI Scribe definitely enables that. Your computer is to the side, you're more focused on the conversation with the person, and you're more likely to hear their story even more deeply, right? If we can hear someone's story and validate that and demonstrate real empathy with people, half the work is almost done here, right? And in getting these people better. Not entirely, of course, but that's the first thing. So I would say it allows me to focus on our conversation that much more. And then it also allows me to communicate with your doctor a lot more efficiently if that's needed, or any other allied health. But it allows me to make a detailed summary of the things that we discussed today that I can send to you after the appointment. So you have all the information about what's going on, how long it might take to get better, the specific instructions that you need to get better, how I'm going to help you, the goals that you're trying to achieve, and then when we should meet again. So having this information is really helpful for patients to understand their issue and what has to happen next, because depending on what study you read, but 50 to 70% of what is said in the session is often forgotten. And so we can provide them a written treatment plan that's built from this transcript and then reviewed by you, the clinician, to make sure they're completely in the know. So I would say, yeah, there's a few benefits. I can completely focus on our conversation. It enables really good communication with your allied health team. and I can send you a treatment plan in a flash of a second that has all the things that we discussed today that you need to know. Those are some of the other things. But there's
So
other things
great.
that I'm thinking about too, right? There's like I have more energy to research, to
Yeah.
do research on this condition, and I have more time to eat my lunch. So I'm more, this is the things I'm not going to say to them, but eat my lunch and use the washroom so I can be even more present with people. Because as a clinician, you know that you're probably not eating until the end of your shift and you're going to delay using the washroom, um, maybe 4 or 5 patients down the road on your day. Anyways, those are some of the other things. I wouldn't tell patients that though.
But I think that's really great. I think that's so relatable for everyone. Like you said, it's so common. I just wanted to call it. I saw a couple people saying, how can we get the answers to all of these questions? And so we will do our best to find some way to answer all of these and share them out with everyone because there are just so many great questions and great answers in this session. So Laura, Aiden, a few other people I saw you call that out. And so yes, we will take that and we'll figure out how to get all of these questions and answers to you. Um, Oliver, a question. So I think it's sort of two parts. Like one, people are asking, how does this work with other languages outside of English? And then sort of I think into that as well. What about classes with multiple speakers? If there's multiple people, how does the AI recognize the right people? So sort of like how does it recognize voices in different languages?
This is one of those black box kinds of things where it somehow just works in a lot of ways. The services that we use, the baseline kind of Azure and AWS services that we use, yeah, it's crazy how it can pull apart semantic meaning in a meaningful way. That said, this is an area, especially with the group, the multiple people in the room kind of piece, especially in virtual environments, that we are really starting to dive into right now, which is how can we allow you to actually summarize things in a way that it goes to the right places, it goes to the right people. It identifies the right people, it diarizes the transcript potentially. So right now, it's one of those things that we can't say it's going to work 100% of the time, that it's going to split the information well among a group of people. But once again, your results may vary. Try it out in a test patient environment or with trusted patients if you want to try it out. But know that we're actively working on this in the background. We've also had a lot of feedback that with non-native English speakers and with some languages even, you're able to get a summary out of it. Like it's able to actually translate in some cases. So once again, this is like sort of that bleeding edge place where come along with us for this ride if you're on board with that. But we're going to make sure that these edge cases become things that we can either definitively say we fully support soon, or that's just not something that's going to work for us in the near future.
That's great. Thank you. So a few more questions. I know maybe we'll do maybe 5 more minutes. We're not going to be able to get to everything, but we are going to do our best. But like I said, we will follow up with answers to as much as we can. So Anne asked, I create custom soap notes. Can I tell AI Scribe where to put particular information?
Yeah, I think that's kind of when it comes to the customizability of prompts, that's kind of what the prompts do. You are casting a spell basically in a small little place. And what I showed in the demo is you can create different notes within a chart entry and say this note is going to have, let's say the only prompt you put in one note is like, give me a doctor's note. That's the certain output that you could actually get from AI Scribe. People are being very creative with how they're setting up their chart entries to listen for specific chunks of information and placing that within a chart entry the way that they want it, the way that they're used to. So yes, the short answer is yes, but the answer spirals off into many different places.
And I think sort of dovetailing on that, Adam was asking, how can we use this feature to populate our own custom chart templates rather than a SOAP?
Yeah, head on into your template library and either the template community library, and there are as many custom things as you can think of. You can sort the template library by features now, so you can actually look directly for any template in the library that has one or more AI Scribe powered notes in it. So you can just search for that easily. And there is a wide variety, not just SOAP, but we've also included, as I showed in the demo, obviously you can just start from scratch and write whatever you want. You can say, just give me the person's name or give me their background that we discussed about. It's it's really wide open. And we're trying to figure out from all of the use that we get from you all what those really nice standard defaults are that we can provide for you from a Jane first party perspective, but also to encourage you all to create things and publish it to the library and allow people to share whatever works for you in your discipline and your location.
Awesome. And I think we've covered this a little bit, but will we be able to use the Scribe feature, or does our clinic have to subscribe to this feature first? So how do people get access? How do people start using it?
Great question. Currently, it's behind that $15 a month subscription, so you can subscribe and get use of it right away. So you get unlimited access, unlimited notes. But hint, hint, we are working on a way for people to try this for free. Either a usage-based thing or a free trial. We are working on that right now, trying to get you to be able to try this out, put it into your regular workflows, establish some great behaviors, and really see if it's for you. So don't touch that dial.
And as you said before, you can pop into the demo clinic and take a look, but it would be great to be able to test it in your own account. And so if you do check it
Yes.
out in the demo clinic, just another reminder, make sure to not use real patient data, but you can pop in there and take a look. Um, and then really interesting question. What did Jane feel was helpful to include in our version, our AI scribe versus some other AI scribes? What were things that we chose to keep in or leave out, or were there anything that we intentionally made different?
I think this really cuts to the core of the principle of we are the suggester and kind of the assistant and not actually the practitioner. We've seen other competitors start to go in the realm of allowing you to actually like use the AI to suggest treatment and suggest investigations and those kinds of things, stepping into the realm of, taking over the job rather than assisting with the job and being that collaborator. So that's really at the core of how we've constrained ourselves is responsible, ethical use of AI, making sure this is helping you, not taking over.
And then sort of on top of that as well, what's sort of next for AI scribes? So in some other scribes, you can pause recordings or do some other things. What are we looking on to adding on next? How is this going to evolve?
How far can I get into the roadmap with you? I think stability, reliability is at the core of what we're going to be working on next. The big one coming down the pipe is obviously going to be getting you to be able to try this out for free. But then moving forward, I think it's really about, AI, well, the virtual sessions is a huge one. I think we've seen even just like a cursory glance at the chat, making sure that we have a really great option for you available there to handle virtual and potentially group cases, both in person and virtual. But then also just leveraging, I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback is like, okay, now that you've written a prompt in a note, if you're working on that and you want to evolve it, how many times are we going to get you to write a prompt? How can we actually, make AI a little bit smarter and actually get to know you a little bit better, extract and suggest prompts potentially? There's a lot of ways that we can make the promptability and the evolving of your practice with AI Scribe just that much easier. Make it easier to onboard, make it easier to make it your own. So take a little bit of the manual labor out of the prompting side of things.
All right, amazing. Well, with that, I think we're going to have to cut it here. I think we could keep answering questions all day, but we have gone an hour, and I want to be super mindful of everybody's time. Make sure that everyone can get back to their patients and their clients. But I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone for taking the time to join us today. We always appreciate it when you take the time out. We know how busy your days are, and we know how much it means to take this hour out of your time. So we really, really appreciate you doing that. And so as a reminder, we'll be sending out a recording of today's session. So keep an eye on your email so you can revisit anything. And then as Oliver mentioned, we've got an upcoming prompting workshop in October, and we'd love to see you there. There was a lot of great suggestions for other types of sessions you'd love to see, discipline specific, going into more detail about certain aspects. So we will take all of that feedback and see what we can do to help provide you the most valuable resources, helpful resources we can. To Sean and Oliver, thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. Your input really brought everything to life and gave us such valuable perspectives. It's so helpful to hear from actual clinicians using it, seeing all of the chat in the chat as well, hearing everyone give their feedback on how they've used it, how they have their experience with AI and other tools. So that was really, really helpful. And if you want to keep that conversation going, like I said, join us in our Facebook community, and then in the future, join us in our other community as well. And we'd love to see you there so you can continue talking with one another. And to everyone here, just thank you so much for everything you do in your communities. I know your work has such a deep impact, and it's just truly such an honor to play even a small part in helping you what you do every day. So we can't wait to see how you'll continue to integrate Jane into your work. And remember that we're always here to help and support you every step of the way. So reach out to our support team with any questions. It does not matter. We are here to help you. Join the community, ask your friends and colleagues in there as well. And we cannot wait to see you at the next webinar. So thank you so much. We will do our very best to share the chat, the Q&A, the questions, everything with you. Might just take us a little bit of time because, like I said, this was an incredibly active session. So we will get all that information for you. And thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.